Oh, I think we actually got live stream. So Wendy, this is perfect. So if anybody's just tuning in, we are on LinkedIn and YouTube live.
Ah, very exciting. Yay. Welcome to anybody who's watching live that's just popped on. I don't know that I've ever been live on LinkedIn before, so a new little experience. No pressure at all here, right? Okay. So, as Bernie was saying, I'm going to come in and talk to you guys a little bit about creating some habits for success. As Bernie mentioned, I am a health coach, and what I do is I really like to work with professionals who are feeling uninspired, right? But they know that there's a better way to live. And so much of that just comes down to your habits. You can always kind of take a look back at what your habits are. They're a very good lagging indicator, actually, of what your results are that you're experiencing right now. So take a look at this screen, and I want you to I'm going to read it out loud, and I want you to actually listen to it. And it's really impactful the first time I heard it. So every action that you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. This is one reason why meaningful change does not require radical change. Small habits can make a meaningful difference by providing evidence of a new identity. And if change is meaningful, it's actually big. That is the paradox of making these improvements. So that's really interesting, right? So when you're looking at your habits, it's every time you do something, that's a vote for who you want to be. So that's a quote actually from James Clear. So he wrote the book Atomic Habits, and that's when I first came across this book a few years ago. It really transformed my life personally, but it also had a massive impact on the coaching that I did with my clients. So what we're going to talk about today is this the science of habit change. There really is a lot to unwrap when it comes to the psychology behind habits. So today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the paradigm of habit change, and I'm going to give you some tangible tips and strategies that are sure to help you in your quest to be a little bit more purposeful in your actions and your behaviors. So first, let's talk about these are the 8 habits that you're going to see that successful entrepreneurs have. The foundation of all success is having the right habits in place. They make sure that you stick to a routine, and they keep you disciplined so that you do the things that need to be done. On this slide, it illustrates eight habits of successful entrepreneurs that you really should be taking note of if you want your business to succeed. I'm going to come back and revisit this slide a little bit later, but for now, just see if there's one of these habits that kind of resonates with you a little bit. And then as we go through the presentation, I want you to keep it in mind and see how easy it would be to make some small changes that will have a significant impact on your business success. Now, let's see here. So good or bad, it all adds up, right? In financial markets, you're going to hear the terms leading indicators and lagging indicators. Well, in your life, your results are a lagging measure of your habits. So it's just like your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. And your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. You get the idea here, right? You get what you repeat. So here's a fun little quote for you. And this one, from what I've seen, is attributed to none other than The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He says, "Success isn't overnight. It's when every day you get a little better than the day before. It all adds up." You know, nothing super profound, but it's pretty simple stuff, and it makes a lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit about the anatomy of a habit. We've got the 4 stages of a habit are best described as a feedback loop. And what they do is they form this endless cycle that's running every moment that you're awake. And what this habit loop does, it's continually scanning your environment, predicting what's going to happen next, trying out different responses and learning from those results. So for this exercise, let's use the habit. Let's use the habit of asking for testimonials when you've wrapped up a business interaction with a client. So what you see on the screen here, I'm just gonna scooch down here a little bit. So the cue, that's what actually triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. Our prehistoric ancestors were paying attention to cues that signal the location of rewards like food, water, sex, whatever. It's a little bit different today as we focus on cues that more predict money, fame, power, status, praise, approval, love, friendship, a sense of personal satisfaction, whatever. So the cue in is going back to the example of asking for testimonials. The cue for that would be receiving the payment or finishing up a coaching program, or whatever the last stage of your business relationship is. That's a cue for you to start this new perform this action of asking for a testimonial. What the craving is, these are the motivational forces behind every habit. When you have a craving, it's not the habit itself that you're after, it's the change in your state is what you're really seeking. Smokers, as an example, don't actually crave the cigarette. It's the feeling of relief that the cigarette provides. So every craving that you have is linked to a desire that you need to have some kind of a change in your internal state. So back to the example of asking for testimonials, the craving would actually be kind of twofold with this example. So for new business owners, this is going to help with some validation, maybe some self-confidence, and it also fulfills a desire for attracting new business and filling up your pipeline. So that's actually what you're craving. Then the next step that we get to, that's the response. So the response is the actual habit that you perform, and that can take the form of either a thought or an action, and it's the behavior. So in the example for testimonials, so the response is actually asking for the testimonial. So that's that behavior, that action step that you're going to be taking. And then the last stage in the habit loop is the reward. And the rewards, that's the end goal of every habit. So in this one, the reward is either knowing that you have a satisfied client or possibly receiving some feedback to improve your services. And if it's a positive testimonial, you're going to have some marketing materials to promote your business. So in summary, you've got the cue that triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which provides a reward, which satisfies the craving and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. So you'll just see how this continues to keep kind of going around. So now let's talk about, now that you understand the anatomy of a habit, let's talk about the 4 laws of actually making some habit changes. So first thing that you want to do, you want to make it obvious. And this is really what I want to focus on today through the rest of this presentation. So when you're making it obvious, you're going to use, implementation intentions. You can use habit stacking, designing your environment. You just really want to make the cues of good habits. You want to make them obvious and you want to make them visible. So that could be putting up something, a little note to yourself. My office, I'm surrounded by whiteboards and Post-it notes. I've got stuff all around. If I could take my camera and turn it around, it's always interesting to see what it looks like behind the cameras. But when you want to implement some kind of a new habit, super, super important that you make it obvious. The next thing is you want to make sure that you make it attractive. And sometimes what we can do is use temptation bundling. And what that does, that's when you're pairing an action that you want to do with an action that you need to do. So it could be joining a culture where that desired behavior is the normal behavior. Or you could do, another part of temptation bundling. If say you want to work out as an example, but you don't really enjoy working out, but there's something that you're already doing in your life. Maybe, you have, I'm just trying to think of something that's an easy way that you can tack on a little bit more exercise. Like when if you're going to the mall or whatnot, you want to park further away, right? Because that's something that you need to do. You need to go to the mall, but you want to start exercising a little bit more. If you can park further away, either from your office building entrance or whatever it is, you're tacking something on there that you're doing already, which is going to the office or the mall or whatever. And then what you have to do is tacking on that extra bit of a walk. So you're just sort of piggybacking on something. You also want to make it easy. We've all heard the acronym KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. What you want to do is you want to prepare your environment so you're setting yourself up for success. You want to optimize those small choices that deliver the biggest bang for your buck. Use automation, use technology as your friend. Set up reminders for yourself. Use tasks. Really, for as much as technology can kind of be a pain in the butt sometimes, you really can use it to your advantage when you're trying to implement some new habits. And then the fourth law, you want to make sure that that it's satisfying. You want to reward yourself when you complete your habit. Using a habit tracker or something like that. And really think back to when we were kids in school. Like, who didn't love getting a nice little gold star or a little green sticker or something that let you know that you're doing a good job? You can do that for yourself. If that's something that motivates you, you can have a little habit tracker on your fridge or up on the wall in your office and give yourself those little check marks. Give yourself those little rewards. And a little tip with that, if you're using a habit tracker, you never want to miss twice. So if you've got your habit tracker up on the wall, we're not all perfect, right? We know that there's going to be days that we're going to miss doing something that we want to do, and we miss it. Life happens. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't miss more than twice, for sure. So if you're using this habit tracker, that can be satisfying when you look up and you can see all the check marks or whatnot. So just whatever it is that you can use, because everybody responds differently to different types of rewards. So when you know something that you can do to reward yourself, just make sure that you implement that in some way when you're working on implementing some new habits into your daily routines. So when I'm talking about implementation, so let's talk about this implementation intention. What that is so this is a super complicated little phrase that you see here on your screen, right? So really what it is you're making a contract with yourself of sorts, right? So what you want to do is you want to write this down somewhere that you're regularly going to see it. So it's I will, in that first blank is the behavior. So that's the behavior or the action. And the next blank is the time, and then the last blank is location. You are more than 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through with a habit if you make a specific plan for when, where, and how you're going to implement it. By outlining a clear plan of action and clarifying exactly what you need to work on, you're really just going to make that task so much simpler, which means it's going to require less motivation to do so. So I'll throw a couple of different examples out here. So say you want to meditate a little bit more. Your implementation intention would be, I will meditate for 1 minute at 7 a.m. in my kitchen, right? It's just starting off small. If you want to learn a new language, I will study Spanish for 20 minutes at 6 p.m. in my bedroom. Or if you want to start exercising, I will exercise for 30 minutes at 5 p.m. in my gym, right? So it's just really breaking it down and putting something down on paper that you can look at this agreement with yourself that's going to encourage you to remind you when to do it. Linking it back to the example I was using about asking for testimonials. I will ask for a testimonial when I issue my invoice for the payment for services rendered, with whatever part it is of your own sales cycle that gets you to that point where you know that you're done, or you're done through that particular transaction. So that's that implementation intention that you can do at that point. And then another thing that you can use, it's called habit stacking. So I touched on it a little bit when I was talking about making the habit satisfying. So when we talk about habit stacking, that's after blank, I will blank, right? This is a fun little meme that I found there with the little piggyback rides. But that's what it's doing. So when you find a habit that you are already doing each day, and then you stack the new behavior on top of it. So in other words, what's happening is your current habit actually becomes the trigger for a new one. So as an example, when I get on the bus, I'm going to stand instead of sit. Or, if you want to be a little bit more charitable and you want to give to some worthy causes, you can say, every year on my birthday, I donate to charity. So it's something that's going to happen all the time. You have a birthday coming every year, and that will be your trigger to donate to charity. You can use it in simple things. After I turn on the shower, I'm going to do 5 burpees while I'm waiting for the temperature to warm up. So that's a good way of getting a couple of extra little bit of exercise in there. If you want to start, working on your mindset and thinking of more gratitude, this is something that I actually personally do every night. After I lay down in bed for the night, I think of one positive thing that happened today. So for me, what I was wanting to do at that point was, life was getting a little bit heavy and I was having a hard time finding the positives. So that was just something that I did. And every night now when I go to bed, I think about the best thing that happened to me that day. What other, just trying to think of a couple of other little habit stacking kind of things. When I see my water bottle is half empty, I'm going to fill it back up again. When I feel stressed or anxious, I will close my eyes and take 5 deep breaths. So it's just when you find a habit that you want to implement, just think about your day and things that you're already doing already, or in your business processes, or whatever it happens to be. You find something that you do already that's almost effortless for you, and use that to link a new habit to that you want to start to implement into your life. Okay, so we're talking about how to implement some good habits. What about when you want to break a bad habit, right? Because it's not always about implementing some new things. Sometimes we want to take some things away. So what you can do in that, this is what's we need to have a bit of a mindset shift here when you want to start breaking habits. So what you want to do is you want to make that habit invisible. You want to reduce your exposure. And you do that by removing the cues of your bad habit from your environment. I'll share one. I'll share one with you. I have a sweet tooth, right? I love my sweets, and I had just gotten into this habit. Whenever I was driving this one route, I always ran into this store because they had funky little chocolate bars that I loved going in and getting them. And I always just, every time I drove past that place, I stopped in and bought that. And I didn't want to keep doing that anymore. So for me, what I needed to do is I needed to change up my route, right? I needed to make that piece invisible. So I just started taking a different way. And I wasn't tempted with running into that store. And now it's, it just took a little bit, and now I can drive past it all the time, and it's not a big deal at all. So that's what you want to do, is you want to make something invisible if you want to get it out. Something else you want to make it unattractive. And that's doing, it's reframing your mindset. So what you need to do there is you need to highlight the benefits of avoiding your bad habits. So whenever we're looking at either implementing new habits or taking some habits out, there's always a link back to pain and pleasure. And the more pleasure you can derive from a habit, the more likely it is that you're going to do it. And the same thing, the more painful it is, the more likely it is that you're going to avoid it. So anything that you can do to make these habits unattractive, it's going to help you to kick that habit to the curb, whatever it is. You want to make it difficult. So you want to increase friction. You want to increase the number of steps between you and your bad habits. I have clients that I work with that they spend way too much time on their devices. Like their phones are stuck to their hip all the time, and they go to bed on their phones, and then they wake up in the morning and they're on their phones right away. So what I've been doing with some of those clients is I coach them into leaving these devices downstairs. Don't bring those devices into their bedrooms, because what has happened is it by not having it in the room, it's making it a little bit more challenging for them to get on their phone and spend that much more time on it. And then the last thing that you can do is you can make it unsatisfying. Get an accountability partner. Ask somebody to watch your behavior. Create a habit contract. make the costs of your bad habits public and painful. That's why, a lot of times when you see people posting on Facebook or whatnot about, they're going to do a dry January, or they're declaring a weight loss goal that they have, because what the benefits of doing that, it's not showboating, it's not people, giving the impression that they're better than somebody else. What they're doing is they're using that big network as accountability partners for themselves. So if they declare to their whole social network that they're going to lose 50 pounds this year, they've got more skin in the game to be doing this, right? Because then all of a sudden they've got a whole bunch of people out there that saw them make this declaration that they're going to lose some weight. It's other people just kind of holding their feet to the fire to make sure that they're holding true to what they said that they were going to do. Okay, so I said we were going to come back to this slide here. So these are 8 habits of successful entrepreneurs. So we'll go through these here a little bit by bit. So number 1, first and foremost, it's creating a routine. You want to make sure that you're using your time effectively and instead of always trying to figure out what to do. And it also keeps you off of social media. So if you have more of a plan and a routine for your work day, it's really going to help keep you more productive and less likely to get sidetracked down some kind of a rabbit hole. Pick times that you're going to work on your business. Use your calendar to block out time for business activities and stick to it. The second on the list is waking up early. So 90% of executives and entrepreneurs actually wake up before 6 a.m. on weekdays. Those early morning hours, that's really the ideal time to be focusing on projects without any interruptions. And then you also have less chances of your plans for the day getting derailed if you start early that morning. Working out and meditating. So exercising, it's not only just good for you, it significantly boosts your brain power when it comes to processing and productivity. Meditation or mindful thinking time can help you alleviate some stress and focus on tasks and projects. Number 4, you're getting a head start on tomorrow and today. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to what's really important for you to do now and not putting it off until later. It's also really important because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. So be honest with yourself about what needs to get done. Be optimistic that you can do it, and then prioritize those urgent tasks and get those done first. Track your progress. Super, super important. So tracking your progress, that means keeping track of all of the small wins along the way to those big goals. Really critical for two reasons. First of all, it helps you break down your big goals into smaller tasks. Otherwise, those big goals can seem really intimidating and difficult to tackle. Secondly, when you break down those big goals into small tasks and track how much you do, you get this feeling of accomplishment, and rightly so. Even before you've reached the goals, there's just something really satisfactory about or satisfying about feeling those little accomplishments along the way. Relaxing with family and friends. A lot of us dream of having success and being successful entrepreneurs so that we can support our friends and family and do whatever we want to do with them. Go on vacations, spend more time with them, and so on. So it's important that you stay connected with your friends and family even as you get more successful. As an entrepreneur myself, it's really easy to get caught in that trap of I've got to work. I got to work. If I'm sitting still and I'm not doing anything, it means that I'm wasting time. That's not the case. You want to make sure you're doing all the activities you need to do for your business, but it's even more important to make sure that you're not losing sight of why you're doing it. You don't want to push out your friends and your family because you're working so hard on your business, and then it's like, what's the saying? Losing sight of the forest through the trees, or the tree in the forest. One of you guys can correct me on that on that little saying afterwards. It's escaping me. It's escaping me here right now. But the idea is you want to make sure that you're still spending time with your friends and your family as you continue to build your business. You want to separate your days for different business tasks. So setting aside time, that's going to help you know when you can schedule things with your loved ones. And it's also going to help you know when you need to turn off the distractions and get stuff done. And then last but not least is keep on learning. This last habit of successful entrepreneurs is my personal favorite. It's to keep learning. Bill Gates says he reads up to 50 books a year. Warren Buffett reads between 5 and 6 hours a day. Reading helps you learn, and continuing to learn is imperative for your personal and your financial success. Besides, there's nothing to lose from reading and learning more. There's literally no better way to spend your time growing and expanding your mind than when you're spending a little bit of time working on your craft and just making yourself the best version of yourself that you can be. So my question to you is, every single decision you make is a vote for the person that you wish to become. Who are you voting for? What activities are you doing? What kind of person do you see yourself coming out of this on the other side? So with that, let me stop this share. I think I went on a little bit longer than I was supposed to there. My apologies for that.
No, you're good.
But there was a lot of little information to share there. So I will open it up for questions or comments or feedback, whatever you guys would like to chat about.
Perfect. Okay, so if anybody would like to ask questions, just raise your hand or whatever, and we'll put you live. Wendy, great job. I of course really liked it before we started or went live. I was sharing that we're doing a lot of talking about habits and creating goals and stuff. So I really like the way you actually had it laid out with it's a different way to look at it. Like I hadn't seen that with the cues and cravings and responses and the rewards. Just things even tweaking in my mind that are not the traditional way, just a little tweaking. So I really appreciated that myself. Anybody got something out there that they'd like to share or add or a question? Everybody's sitting back thinking about.
So Wendy.
Oh,
yeah.
Stefan.
Go ahead, Stefan. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about reading habits. So I just wanted to ask Wendy, what is your preferred book or favorite book about smart goals, and making new habits? Or have you yourself published a book?
Yeah, no, I have not published a book. There's so many that I've written, but honestly, this book here, Atomic Habits by James Clear, it really is very succinct, and really simple strategies that just about anybody would benefit from. I actually have the hard copy, and I have it on audio book as well. So whenever I'm on, longer drives, this is one book that I tend to go back to fairly regularly to just keep on re-inspiring myself because I struggle with habits just like everybody else does. Just because I'm a health coach and a wellness coach, it doesn't mean that my day is perfect. It does not mean that I have perfect routines. I drag my butt just like everybody else does from time to time. And when I need a little bit of a kick in the pants, that's one of the first books that I grab, because it just re-inspires and reignites things for me and simplifies it, because we can get overwhelmed and we let things be more intimidating than it really needs to be. And when you can break it down and see how simple it really is to implement some new habits, it takes that kind of fear out of it.
Yeah, subsidiary question, and after I'm off. Do you think that if we use worksheets to get some habits on the go and be the first to be ourselves accountable for what we should do instead of wishing, right? Do you think, or do you have the experience of those worksheets that help us to follow through?
You know what, Stefan? It's really everybody has their own different motivators. If spreadsheets work for you and you're going to be disciplined to go in and keep yourself accountable on your spreadsheets, then I would say 100% do that, right? If other people that I know, just the word spreadsheet starts to make them twitch just thinking about spreadsheets. So for that person, I'd say no, do not use spreadsheets, right? It just depends on how you tick and what your motivators are and what you use. And that's when I was talking about, the habit stacking, right? Or linking it to something that you're already doing. If you're already going in and checking it in spreadsheets for whatever else it is in your business, if you can make that part of your routine, okay, so I'm going in and looking at this spreadsheet for this particular business activity, then it's just logical that you can check this other spreadsheet for whatever it is that you're setting up. So spreadsheets are awesome. Being with my experience in financial services, I live and die by checklists. I have lists of lists, right? So it comes down to knowing yourself and knowing what behaviors and what strategies work for you, and then using those to your advantage.
Okay. Bernie?
Well, so how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the modus operandi. Take it in small steps and just ratchet it up over time. And it's almost like doing Taekwondo. The first day I took Taekwondo, my leg was not up in front of my nose. It could have been, but it would have been the last time I would have been doing it. So that's pretty awesome. Is there a biological driver that helps this? Like when you're doing the reward piece, the serotonin or other chemicals from the body flooding through at the same time to get that satisfaction to going, yeah, I made it?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of the whole pain and pleasure piece of it, right? So whenever you're trying to implement some kind of a new habit, you're more likely to do something if it gives you pleasure versus giving you pain. So let's talk about, getting the one habit where they're, successful business owners. Most of them get up before 6 a.m., right? That some people might look at that as pain. Some people might look at that as pleasure. And it's changing your mindset around to how can I make this give me more of a sense of pleasure? So maybe getting up at 6 a.m. at first, that's painful, right? That's ouch. I do not want to get up that early. But if you can kind of turn that on its head and go, okay, but if I get up at 6 a.m., I'm going to be able to get this done, this done, this done, and this done. Then all of a sudden, it's actually more pleasure than it is pain. And that's where, you want to kind of turn it around so it is more of a pleasurable activity, because that's when it releases the serotonin, and that's when it starts, releasing those feel-good hormones. So it comes down to that mindset, right? And looking at things a little bit differently.
I like that.
Thank you, Wendy. Go ahead, Alexander.
Okay.
Alexander, go ahead.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Actually, I have a question. For example, you have a business owner who has 5,000 people and he wants to change his corporate habits in the organization. What would you do? What would you advise to that person to change, how he can change those corporate habits effectively? Because to change your personal habits, it's a little bit different from corporate habits.
Right. So that's a big question. That's a big one. Because you're talking about like corporate culture and corporate, policies, procedures. So is it actual procedures that you're wanting to change? When we're talking about habits, a lot of that is linked to personal behaviors, right? So if you're wanting to change things on a bigger scale like that, and you're wanting to get all 5,000 of those people changing their behaviors, it's really tough, whether it's a procedural thing that you're wanting to change, or whether you want to start to impart more of a healthy living lifestyle on them. We see that a lot, and I deliver some corporate wellness programs where business owners would love to see their employees living a healthier lifestyle for them personally, as people, but it's also helps them be more productive employees, and it shows that the owners of the companies are taking a vested interest in the health and well-being of their clients, or of their employees. So if you're wanting people to start to develop and implement habits for themselves personally, a lot of that comes from a top down and just setting an example, right? So if you want some little changes being implemented, so it's kind of that's a tough question, Alexander.
I think you gave a great answer, Wendy.
Thank you.
Because here's the thing, I'm with you too. It's being in the same line of work with a lot of, if it's going to be, it's up to me. So the only person that can really implement a new habit is ourselves. And then I'm with you, like you lead by example. And there's lots of things. I loved your little list there of 8 habits, because I was going to doing the check mark thing, because I'm a check mark girl, and I'm going, you know what? I've got over the half the list. There's another whole part that I need to work on, but I love, the recognition of your setting the intention for ourselves. Yeah. And I think the more we get out and do that, the more it's just a ripple effect with the people around us. 100%.
And another thing that I want to share with you is that whenever you're wanting to implement new behaviors and new habits, be kind and be compassionate with yourself. You're not going to go from not doing it at all to having a perfect track record the next day. So you just want progress, right? As long you want progress, not perfection. So you just, any little improvement that you did a little bit better today than you did yesterday, that's amazing, and you want to celebrate that. And if you didn't have a good day, if at the end of the day you're laying in bed and you're thinking about one good thing that happened that day, and you're kind of beating yourself up because you went off the rails and you didn't really get done what you wanted to do, that's okay. Just be kind to yourself, be compassionate with yourself, and know that tomorrow is a new day. And that's the beauty of it, right? Every morning that you wake up is another chance to work on your goals and work on whatever new habits that you want to do.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to have to, because it's 1:57. I know you were lifting your hand there, Alexander, but we're going to have to. You can put a question in the comment if you want. So here's the thing. I'm going to encourage you all to, again, reach out to somebody that you've met on the call. Wendy, can you give me, what's your top 3 takeaways you want people to leave with today?
Oh, top 3 takeaways is, oh gosh, that's putting me on the spot. Top 3 is be compassionate, be kind with yourself, and have patience. Start small, right? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step. Don't worry about thinking about everything you need to do to get you there. Just think of that first step that you need to take, and get outside your comfort zone, try some new things. You never know what might work for you. You might be open and listening to ideas and whatnot from other people. We need to change things up. We live in kind of a crazy time right now, and it's an opportunity to experiment and try some things that you might not necessarily have tried before.
Perfect. And if you don't mind, can you share your contact information in the chat box? So if anybody would like to reach out to you and learn more about Wendy Mason and her health and wellness business, they can. I'd like to thank you very much, Wendy. I thought it was great reminder, perfect timing at the beginning of January, because we were doing some stats of how many people actually have thrown in the towel. I think I don't know, there was a day that they were celebrating that, the resolutions are over. I can't remember what it was called now, but it made me kind of chuckle. On that note, for anybody on the call who would like to join us on Thursday, we're going to be talking about, we're goals, but we're talking about our finances and budgets. So as business owners, do you have any goals set that way? So if you want to join every Thursday, we have a different conversation happening. Bernie, do you want to share what's coming up also next week and what you're doing after the call?
So, Margaret Ann, thank you. Vicki Bruce is going to be talking to us from Scotland. She runs a tour space of the distilleries in that region. So needless to say, it can be a popular run. And so she's going to be talking about how they had to manage during the pandemic, because that is a major pivot when people are actually having to come overseas to visit. So that's the one thing. 5 minutes after the hour, you'll see a survey. So if I have your email, you'll be, and you're here, you will find yourself getting a little update. The survey from past times has been updated. Margaret Ann just kind of put some magic touches to it. And over to you, Margaret Ann.
Perfect.
I always forget this part. Save your chat.
Save your chat.
The little three dots. Click
And
them, save them,
hug them,
hold them, kiss them. What's that?
Did you put the link in for the survey there, just in case they want to hit
it?
No,
the survey link is not in there, but I will post it there ever so shortly.
There you go. And as we start version 2 of Connect Ottawa, we really appreciate your feedback, anything you have to say, ideas, and learning how we can be of service to you as well. I want to thank you all for joining us from around the world. Without you, together, this is an amazing team. So thank you for joining us. And I guess that's it.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks so much, everybody. It was